It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you now. Thank you everyone who has taken the time to arrive and join in with us. We really love these events because, like, you know, podcasting is fun, but it is just kind of three people on a laptop. Here we get to really get a crowd going, get your answers, get all that kind of stuff. So we're really, really excited for this. Before we start, everyone give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much.
See, now we're three people on a laptop in a room full of people.
Yes!
Yeah,
excellent.
There's actual people here rather than
so here's Tech here, so I'll run the bus here. So everyone, we're just going to introduce ourselves very quickly in loosely alphabetical order. This is also the part of the show where everyone suddenly becomes illiterate and forgets their ABCs. So, in alphabetical order, my name is Cian O'Callaghan. Figure it out amongst yourselves, guys. Who's next?
Ahoy, my name's Darragh O'Connor.
K.A. No, I'm not doing K.A.
What did I say?
And I'm Mannequin Blue.
And we are Nerd to Know Media. As Darragh said there, we run a radio show and podcast called Nerd to Know Basis on Phoenix 92.5 FM every Saturday. And this is our party trick show, which is called Everything is Wrestling, tragically without slides. So, before we get into the mix of it, would you like to take us through the concept again, Darragh?
Yeah, so while we have our technicians working on it, I'm sure everyone in this room knows wrestling. If you don't, we're going to do our best to try and explain it to you.
I don't.
King does not know. So this is our panel. We did it in 2019 before the world closed down, so we're back doing it now.
Yes, this is a kind of a trick that Darragh can do. I was explaining to some of the crowd who arrived early, which is, we're going to get into the meat of it in a minute, but Darragh has a party trick where he can connect literally anything to wrestling. But the other thing he does is, for normies like me, I know I don't look like a normie, but you know, for the purposes of wrestling, I know nothing about it. I know people get thrown through tables sometimes. I know there's storylines. I know there's crazy, like, kind of names and characters and all that. So when he starts going on about things like terrorists got abducted by aliens in the middle of WWE Raw during the London something or other, he talks of it like it's a perfectly normal thing. And the eyes roll.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah.
But basically what we're going to do is, when we go through some of the terms, we'll open it up to you guys out there, and we have some prizes. So if you guys, if you like your answer, if I can't do it, here we go.
Woo!
Yeah. Thank you.
You don't have to use your imaginations.
In the tubes!
Brilliant. Here we go. It makes it so much better. So come on in. Come on, have a bite.
Excellent. We have prizes. Come on in, Angry Birds.
Exactly. Right. So let's actually start the panel. So as I said, my name's Darragh O'Connor. This is our this is all the stuff that we do. I've written for Rock Culture, The Sun, Impact Wrestling.
And you lived.
And I've lived, exactly. As I said, they're the shows that we do. If you like what we do here, please grab a card. You can find us online. We're really not hard to find. So the goal of the panel today is to connect everything to wrestling. So if you've been downstairs in the trade hall, you've seen the amazing LTT actually perform wrestling, and maybe the first time you guys have actually ever seen it live. I know people who watched wrestling for years have never seen a live show. So if you haven't seen it, go downstairs, check it out. It's unlike anything else. But the main thing about it here is we're going to try and get you guys to go to that mic and say something, and then we'll try to connect it back to wrestling. Before we do that, let's go through some of the wrestling terms. So these are the main ones, angle, babyface, blow off, burial, bump. These are all terms that you need to know. So angle is a storyline, as Cian said. Babyface is a good guy. Blow off is a last match. Burial means they've been completely destroyed. A bump is a move. So if you guys have seen suplexes or anything loud that bangs the mat, that's called a bump. Gimmick's a character, so Cian's gimmick would be Dr. Robotnik.
This is my life, thank you.
Life, exactly. Going over would be winning. Green is someone who just started wrestling. He would be, if the crowd care. Heel's a bad guy. And jobbers to lose. Kayfabe is, keeping it real. So Cian is fully in kayfabe here the whole time. A mark is...
He's actively been abducting small critters as the day went on.
Absolutely, there's one sleeping over there. Kayfabe is basically... a mark is a wrestling fan, so I would be a mark, and so would anyone who's a wrestling fan. No sell means you just don't sell it. Over would be someone who is over with the crowd to get cheered. Sell means if I pretend to punch Keen, he sells it. There you go. Shoe is going off script or I actually get Keen. A smart mark is also me because I work writing as a wrestling journalist most of my life. Spot is a scripted series of moves. Squash is a match that took like 2 minutes, and turn is when somebody changes from good guy to bad guy.
And can I actually, I'm sorry to interrupt your very, very impressive glossary there, but hands up who here would, what was that term you used, a mark? A wrestling mark? Yeah. Hands up here who would consider themselves a wrestling mark. Anyone?
The guy
is Hogan in attendance?
I was waiting for you to not put your
We may get a demonstration before the end of this panel. And what's the opposite of a mark? Hands like kind of...
it's a funny term because like mark can really mean anything, but like derogatory means people think wrestling is real.
Interesting.
I mean, it is
Wrestling
real.
is real.
But a smart mark would be somebody who's smartened up to the business. So we have a little introduction here of what wrestling is for people who may not know, and then we'll come back into it. So check this out, guys. Or it doesn't play. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. You guys know what wrestling is. Basically, it's anything. Right? So we have movies, video games, series. It's all kind of the same. They're all stories that we tell each other because we've been telling each other the same stories for about since the beginning of time. So the idea of this panel comes from is everything wrestling, right? And this was from 2016. So kinda, yeah. When I think of politics or how pop culture is often compared to wrestling, the elements most transferable are the outlandish characters, the jumbo threats, and the assistants that tell a great story with no regard for the facts, right? So as you see here, it crosses everything. You know, WCW literally had a Sub-Zero character where it was just Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. Donald Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame, and
God help us.
Yeah, well, he's one of the biggest figures in wrestling, and that takes us next to our next point, which is very, very important. No politics. So we have the rules, right? The reason why we don't do politics in this is because it's way too easy. Kane is the mayor of Knoxville. Jesse Ventura was Governor of Chicago, I think. Yeah, it was Governor of Chicago. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody that remembers 1990, the 90s. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Governor of California, and Donald Trump, President of the United States. It's way too easy, folks. Politics is wrestling for people who want to pretend that it's high class. That's all it is, right? So it's way too easy. So please, do not bring up politics. It's just way too easy. Next rules, right? If you come up, it can be a movie, it can be a video game, it can be a comic, it can be a person, it can be a place, it can be a thing. Please keep it to those things. Nothing really obscure like a bowl of rice. That's a bit difficult to do. One at a time.
You've obviously never eaten a bowl of rice.
Yeah.
Keep it tasteful. No Katie Vick. The guy in the Hulk Hogan costume probably knows who Katie Vick is. And no Chris Benoit things because that brings everyone down. Alright?
I mean, as it is, I see Spider-Man's in attendance, and Spider-Man has a wrestling connection, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah, there you go, see?
Right, so this is what we're looking for, right? So Morbius, Morbin time. How are we going to get Morbius to wrestling? Right, so there's a bunch of different ways. There's the obvious way. Morbius is a vampire, right? There's been so many wrestling characters who are vampires. Edge, The Brood, Gangrel, Kevin Thorne, who was in 2006, I don't know if you guys remember.
I'm sorry, could I stop you there? There have been so many wrestling characters who are vampires.
Yes.
You can't just say that in a flat tone of voice.
That is a perfect
Now, I do know that 2/3 of the room just nodded along like it's the most normal thing ever.
That's
But for the
totally
benefit of the relative newcomers, could you explain how vampires... Let me stress that vampires are a normal thing in wrestling.
Actually, that's a good point. I don't actually ever recall any of them feeding on each other. That's
That's fine then.
It's fine. So basically, the most famous vampire stable was The Brood back in the 90s during the Attitude Era. So I was 8 when that came out. So I don't know how old you guys were if you even remember it.
14.
14, yeah. So there's a couple of people that would remember it. Edge is still around today. Edge is that guy there. And he recently brought back that kind of character where he did the entrance and he came up too far. Funny fact with Gangrel, not only is it related to Morbius, but Gangrel is actually a character in Vampire the Masquerade, which, if you guys know Vampire the Masquerade, is the best RPG of all time. Fight Me IRL, if you disagree. It's a broken game, but fantastic. And yeah, so he's in there too. Kevin Torren then came back, picked up the gimmick in 2006, but had a tarot card spin on it. So it's never the same thing again. But
wait. There are vampires and tarot card readers. Like I'm not like spacing out. We're still talking about wrestling.
We are,
right?
yeah. But like this is what I'm saying. It's a very, very popular gimmick to go to. So that's the most obvious connection that we can do. The on the ground.
Let me stress it. That's the most obvious.
It is the most obvious.
This is where it starts.
Right. So
Forget all the wrestlers in the Blade movies.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that's a very good point. Triple H was in Blade 3 with his Pomeranian, and he does his pedigree, I think, at some point. That's a terrible movie. Thanks for reminding me of that. There's no Morbin there. So the next connection is the less obvious one. Below is WCW. Now I don't know. Does anyone remember WCW?
I remember.
Right. So WCW went out of business in 2001, and it was fantastic until it wasn't. It had some terrible gimmicks, and so here's 3 of them. The Shockmaster, Hulk Hogan talking to himself and seeing the Ultimate Warrior behind the mirror, and then everything on a pole match, including Viagra at this point. How is that relevant to Morbius? Have you seen Morbius? It's terrible.
Is that the Stormtrooper diamond emblazoned character here?
It is. And it's infamous, as is Morbius. And the final connection is we have CM Punk.
How do you wrestle in that?
You don't. You fall over and it becomes infamous. And the final connection is CM Punk, who would come and go, it's clobbering time, which is where the name, it's Morbin time comes from. So there we go. So that's kind of what we're looking for, right? So what we can do now is you can either listen to me talk about how Greek theatre is wrestling for 20 minutes, or you can come up and start asking questions.
Well, tell you what, maybe each of the 3 of us will do one now to kind of get the ball rolling, because if that wasn't enough, yes, he has connected pretty much literally anything. We've been trying this for 3 years now and no one's flunked him. So I'll start with one. How is Sonic the Hedgehog linked to wrestling?
Which part specifically?
Let's say Eggman. How's Eggman?
Right, so Eggman would be a corporatist, right? So he would be the infamous industrialist who just sees profit or scientific discovery. Vince McMahon, the most infamous corporatist in history, literally destroyed the territory system to make WWE, and he was recently resigned, which was crazy and a whole other thing. Listen to my podcast, we talk about it for an hour and a half, so I'm not going to talk about it here. But yeah, so there you go, like that's the most obvious one. You could also, again, I know I'm going to break my rule bringing politics into it, Trump is in the Hall of Fame, another famous corporatist. There you go. So basically corporatists are villains in wrestling? No, actually quite the opposite. They're super, well, it depends really, because I mean, in WCW for example, the rich guys were the good guys.
And they fought vampires?
No, and they fought, well, kind of, they fought Mexican vampires.
Oh, obviously, right.
Completely different.
Yeah.
A little bit, but they were the bad guys.
God, is there any more cursed existence than being a vampire in Mexico? In sunny Mexico? Oh my god. Okay, that was very impressive. We'll go to Kev next.
Literally off the top of my head, for the cap. Darragh, how's Yu-Gi-Oh related to
Yes!
I can't use the other one because I just used it. There's some Egyptian gimmick pay-per-views. So I suppose we could use that. Some WrestleManias had Egyptian teams.
Surely there must have been a pharaoh by now in wrestling.
There was, but not really. They were wearing the pharaoh headdress at different WrestleManias.
So you are standing in front of these people at a panel that says literally everything is wrestling and pharaohs aren't wrestling.
They're involved. I just want to go for it.
How about the Sheik?
Ooh!
Oh, the Sheik, that's fair enough. That's a good point too. But the Sheik wouldn't necessarily be, he'd be Egyptian, but he wouldn't be a pharaoh, you know, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is more related to ancient Egypt than current Egypt. But
yeah, we got to get the rules on Yu-Gi-Oh! Down properly.
That's fair,
yeah. Alright, Katie.
Okay. How is Polly Pocket wrestling?
Oh. Give Katie a DVD.
We can all go home now. He's beaten.
I don't know. I believe.
You get no way out.
You get no way out. Well done.
But hang on. Let me see if I can jump in here. So, Polly Pocket is a world you can make yourself, right? You can buy your house, you can buy all your characters, And as you play Polly Pocket, you create these ongoing storylines in which you kind of have to keep everything changing and keep the characters falling in and out and all that kind of stuff and rearranging things, just like the arc of wrestling, right?
Fair enough. Keane's done it. I mean, you can do that, but that's more something you have to put in yourself rather than off the
Fair enough. All right.
Kind
We'll
of
take
more
it.
just thinking,
Katie's the one to beat.
I was
Katie's
kind of
the one.
more just thinking like kids fight each other over toys.
Fair enough.
So, what would be the most? Would people like to come up to the microphone, or will I come down to the audience? Yeah.
The mic's there.
Oh, excellent. So,
All right.
our Egyptian representative here.
Absolutely not. Excuse me?
Yes, sir. Oh, here we go. He has the headdress.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I spoke way too soon.
Fantastic. Alright. So, please introduce yourself, sir, in the mic and ask your question.
Ready, hello?
Hello.
Hello? Test?
There we go.
Yeah, we can hear you.
How is podcasting wrestling?
Ooh.
Well, it's funny because it's always been wrestling. Podcasting in its form now. When I started, it was you'd upload a server and you'd have to actually sit there physically download everything onto a server. And now it's podcasting, just run on Spotify and that's it. But that's when I got into it. In the 90s, WCW had a line that you would ring, that's other WWE, where it would be a phone podcast. You would wrestlers would sit there after the show and just talk nonsense like we are now. But it's been around since the 90s. And now every wrestler also has his own podcast. Ric Flair has 4, like 7 wives. You know, it's
At the same time?
well, maybe not. That's why he's broke.
What about Bite
so-
This? Remember Bite This from 2005?
Bite This would be the same, yeah. So
the one
that's
that Lita got a lot of abuse for because of her relation with Edge.
correct. So wrestling in the podcast, I mean, has always been an audio format as well, right? But as Ian said, in the early days of the internet, shows would show up that would just be done on the internet, so streaming and all that kind of stuff, but they'd have like someone from WWE interviewing wrestlers or taking calls in very much like a live podcast format. So it's crazy to think that from the beginning, it's always been a very open medium to fans. In podcasting now, where fans do it and also wrestlers do it. Like literally, you can go on now and listen to anyone talk about their career for hours on Spotify.
Oh my God. No, I'm sorry, before you sit down, I want to know, what are you dressed as?
This is a cosplay from the YouTube channel Swash. It's Ramses from Pharaoh High.
Ah, very nice. Excellent.
Very early 2000s teenage, like, soap opera sitcoms.
Ooh, okay, for the benefit of this will go out. By the way, I should stress, this will go out on the radio, so if you want to be heard on the radio, get a question up now.
Correct, yeah.
So, thank you very much. That's a wonderful question. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Very good. Who have we got up next?
Hi Darragh, you know who I am?
There
We work in the same place.
we do it.
I just had a thought now, since you chose a bad movie for what is movie connected to wrestling, so I thought of a good movie, a recent good movie that might see where that is wrestling. How is Top Gun Maverick wrestling?
Oh, good pick. Excellent.
So, Top Gun Maverick, which is a great movie, by the way, guys, if you haven't seen it, absolutely do. It's brilliant. But it's all jingoism, right? Jingoism, for people who don't know, is saber rattling towards nationalist sentiment, because guess who funded Top Gun? The American government. In the 80s, and this man is dressed exactly what I'm going to bring up. Hulk Hogan was Mr. America. Literally, that was the character. He was also Hulk Hogan, the symbol of the American might and military. He was in a feud with Sergeant Slaughter, who had turned heel. Again, became a bad guy, became an Iraqi sympathizer, and there were bomb threats at SummerSlam. So, is that good enough?
I'm sorry, you're doing this thing again, where you say
No, the
there's
bomb
like
threats are real. That
Iraqi
was the thing.
sympathizer bomb
Yeah,
threats, and
yeah.
just like it's the most normal thing in the world.
So tell me, I'm assuming that plot line got cut around 2001.
Oh no, it didn't. They brought it back. They brought it back. It got more nationalistic, and in 2005, Undertaker was kidnapped by Al Qaeda on TV.
How is that?
Wrestling,
So,
folks. Wrestling.
Go on.
Who's Goose? But would Warrior be Goose and Hogan be Maverick?
I'd say so. The Mega Powers, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They'd all be doing volleyball, that's the main
And who
thing.
would be Miles Teller's character?
Let me think about it. I'll get back to you. We have a line here, though. So.
Now.
I was actually staying retired in wrestling.
Sorry, rephrase again. So,
I was actually staying retired in wrestling.
okay, so as you know, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But There are some cases that people have to stay retired. For example, Triple H, the best wrestler of all time, fighting IRL, because you're wrong, maybe he's right, he's brilliant. He probably will stay retired because he gets in the ring, he's going to die, legitimately, because of his heart condition.
Yeah, but no, it could be enough money involved.
To die?
I mean, are you going to argue with Hulk Hogan, Darragh?
No, okay, so for people who don't know, the act of retiring is kind of a joke in wrestling. Hulk Hogan has retired twice. Ric Flair has retired since the 90s. He keeps coming back every couple of years. Shawn Michaels stayed retired until he didn't because they gave him a ton of money in Saudi Arabia in the worst match you will probably ever see, where they all got concussed and blew their knees out. I think Triple H did those things. Torres Peck, that was a thank you. Terry Funk has stayed retired, but again, it took him about 4 attempts to do so. But he has actually stayed retired. Mick Foley as well, like, he did the lockdown thing, won the belt, and now he's semi-retired. But
Came back in TNA though.
that's what I said. He did the lockdown match, and then
I really hope there's a retired went home for wrestlers like in The Simpsons. That would be the funniest nonsense ever.
The thing about it is, when wrestlers retire, if they're not super injured or going to die, they probably will come back. So retirement is temporary, like deaths in comic books.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Like Thor's been dead like 4 times. The man keeps coming, but the God keeps coming back.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. Thank you very much, Hulk Hogan. Yeah, here. Okay, wait. Excellent. Now, who do we have next there?
A 17-year-old.
Hello, a 17-year-old. What is your question?
I just want to hear you talk about Scooby-Doo.
Ooh, now.
The character.
Now, how is Scooby-Doo wrestling?
Alright,
Yeah, that's too easy.
Look for the normies in the room.
No, Scooby-Doo's wrestling is far too easy.
Yeah, it is.
They wrestle those.
Not for me. I want to hear this.
Well, here's the thing. I'll give you a better one. So Scooby-Doo is the nexus point of many universes.
What?
Including...
Is that the easy one?
including Supernatural, where it explains all of Supernatural. So,
by the way, there was a multiverse panel in this room at this time yesterday.
was.
You are now in it. Sorry.
We've crossed over. That's true. So look, Scooby-Doo is extremely easy because, people wearing costumes, having gimmicks, having little sidekicks. There was a small person wrestler who, was a sidekick for like 3 or 4 different people. Take your pick.
Having theme music.
You have team music. They have little adventures.
Movies with WWE.
And 2 movies with WWE.
Do wrestlers ever travel around in a van?
Yeah, you don't want to get in that van though.
Nobody wants to get in that van.
Oh, it's like
There was the WWE Scooby-Doo movie.
there was 2.
What?
There was 2. So that's what I'm saying. Which part do you want? I went for the easy nexus point where it connects.
The
all
easy nexus point.
I like multiverses.
So did Mark.
Yeah. I thought it was easy. Sorry.
Sorry. I just want to hear Scooby-Doo. That was it.
You got your wish. Thank you so much. Now we have someone in very cool shades up with a question
very
there.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
How do you put Sinestro into wrestling?
Oh,
Sinestro.
interesting.
The Green Lantern villain, or
Yeah.
Oh, this
he
is
knows who Sinestro is. That's pretty impressive. Give me
Yeah.
a DVD anyway. Comics are important. Well done. That means you must read comics. Do you read comics? Cool. Read more comics. Sinestro is his power comes from fear, right?
And by the way, just Sinestro is the Green Lantern villain, yeah?
Yes, he's technically a Yellow Lantern. So Yellow Lantern's powers come from fear, right? Fear is a huge part of wrestling, and we're gonna bring this guy up an awful lot. The Undertaker. Do you know what the Undertaker is? Right, so the Undertaker's whole thing is psychological games and getting into people's minds and all that kind of stuff. Same with Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt, the whole thing is Sinestro. He is was the WWE god of fear, basically. And he uses that against to get the upper hand. We're actually going to talk about, you've actually stole my last slide, so thanks very much.
NXT did that well.
Well, no, that's how he beat John Cena. That's why John Cena's gone, because... Exactly, well, you can't see him now because he's not there. But how John Cena was finally defeated was through his fear of Bray Wyatt.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go.
Nice, excellent.
So, well
Okay, so you've got a connection to fear. Fantastic. I saw John Cena in like out there though.
No,
like as Peacemaker.
Well, Peacemaker's one thing, but you won't see him in the ring anyway, or you might, but he still hasn't come back from that fight he's in.
And by the way, let me just stress enough before this next question. You do not need to know anything about wrestling to ask a question
No,
about
you don't.
wrestling.
Just come up and
This is
ask
my
nonsense.
second or third time doing this. I still know nothing about wrestling, so don't be afraid to pop up with your questions. You want to connect Mario to wrestling? We got it. You want to connect like Undertale or any of the guests like RoboCop or anything today? You do it. He'll find a way.
I have to know what Undertale is.
Undertale is incredibly easy.
Yeah, okay, someone's gonna have to explain it. Right.
How do you connect Hollow Knight to wrestling?
Hollow Knight?
Hollow Knight.
You know the
Okay.
video game?
I don't know what that is.
Oh!
Yeah, so explain to me what it is and I'll do my best.
Yeah, you're going to have to explain Hollow Knight on the radio. Would you like to do that into the mic?
God, no.
I'll take a crack at it.
Alright,
Yeah.
go on. Kev.
So, hello, first time listener, first time viewer.
First time caller. Hello,
Hollow
caller.
Knight-
Welcome.
Hollow Knight is a lone wanderer, who ends up in a dying world, and basically goes and tries to beat this. How would you describe it? Kind of endless, timeless warrior.
Yeah.
I think that's it about right.
I love Comic-Con.
And you basically spend some time working through this kind of like dying underground bug world.
Go on.
To be honest with you, I don't have any familiarity with it. So you do kind of win this because I genuinely don't know. There probably is a connection, and if I knew if I was familiar with it, I'd probably.
He's an 8-bit looking character.
I don't know what it is. I can't play everything. I can't play all the games. Fair, I will. I'll play a game. So
Give that man a prize. Well done.
there's no bug team wrestlers. Dying Worlds not so much, but wrestlers have often crossed in video games specifically. If you guys have played the terrible 2000 and 2K20, there is some really weird stuff in that game that might be a tangential link, but fair play. I'm gonna check that game out.
I mean, surely there must have been some wrestler
No
who's
good
gone on
wrestlers.
like a plot line
No good
where
wrestlers.
he's had to survive every match to escape some dying universe or something,
Okay.
you know?
There is one connection to it if you're talking about wrestler survival of things. There's a thing called a gauntlet match. A gauntlet match would be where a wrestler's in the ring for 30 minutes, an hour, and they have to keep going. You're sending everyone in, right? There's Lethal Lockdown where it's more games where you're fighting everybody, where it's two teams fighting each other and the best man winner Survivor Series. So there are links to it, but I'm just not familiar enough to make a coherent argument. So
Everyone's ours going home with homework.
I am going home homework because I don't have enough games to play.
I'm always happy to hear about Hollow Knight, by the way. Thank you very much. Who do we have next?
Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Let me preface this by saying I don't know anything about wrestling.
Great.
Yeah, come a bit closer to the microphone so we
I'm
can
the only
record
one
you.
here that does.
Yeah.
What does Freddie Mercury is? Is there any Freddie Mercury in wrestling?
Okay.
There better be.
So in the 80s, right? In the 80s, there was a thing called the Rock and Wrestling Connection, where they actually brought celebrities in, right? Freddie Mercury wasn't there for reasons, I think he was dead at that point. But they have actually used major celebrities like that to have a lot of rock music. So rock music is a very big part of wrestling. Freddie Mercury specifically, and also Michael Jackson, inspired a lot of Japanese wrestling. So there's a wrestler, actually a bunch of wrestlers in New Japan and other organisations around then as well that actually have used Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson characters.
Have the Freddie Mercurys and the Michael Jacksons ever gone up against each other?
Oh yeah,
I want to see that.
It's Japan, but they're just Japanese dudes that dress like them. It happens an awful lot. Now I will preface, in Japan everything happened. There was a match between a table and an iron. Apparently it was really good. No, a literal table and a literal iron. Apparently it was like 3 stars. It was good.
Who won?
The iron one.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, sorry. What's up?
I'm Connor.
Hi Connor, how are you?
Hi there.
I'm wondering, in WWE, who is your favourite wrestler?
Triple H.
Oh.
There you go. Best wrestler of all time.
Oh my goodness.
Mine is CM Punk.
Ah, yeah, Punk's good. He's in AEW now, so he's the world champion. Yeah.
Excellent. So before you go, just while you're standing up there at the mic, would you like to throw Darragh a curveball? Is there any obscure thing that is not connected to wrestling that you think he might be able to connect to wrestling? It could be sandwiches, it could be the cosplay competition.
Not sandwiches.
Why not sandwiches?
Because they don't have character.
I beg to differ.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Excellent. Okay. If you don't get this, I think I might have an idea. So go on. Spider-Man. How is Spider-Man wrestling?
Very easy. There was a Spider-Man character in WCW. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally Spider-Man. He would, I don't know how he didn't get sued, but he literally was in WCW. It was his gimmick.
Didn't Spider-Man start as a wrestler before he was fighting crime?
Bonesaw, yeah. The Bonesaw McGraw.
Macho Man was in Batman.
There you go. There you go. Thank you very much, Connor. See, there's the connection. Excellent. Well done. Oh, hang on. See, before we get to the microphone, we have a hand up over here.
In the first Tobey Maguire movie, he starts by wrestling as the human spider.
The human spider. Oh, with Bruce Campbell announcing. Honestly, why didn't they get Bruce Campbell as the actual WWE announcer? He was amazing in that one film, you know.
Fair.
So thank you very much for bringing that up. Now, oh my goodness, you've got actual like devil horns. That's awesome.
My name's Patricia, and I was wondering if you could connect minions to wrestling.
Oh,
okay.
If you don't, we got to get that started because that's genius.
I need to clarify. Right. So minions, as in the concept of minions, like the little minions themselves, or which specifically are you talking about?
The little yellow creatures. And
The Despicable Me ones.
Okay.
I wasn't going to let you away with anything else.
No,
other
that's
than
fair. That's fair. So, as I said before, little people in wrestling is a thing.
Oh my god.
That's what. There's the other term that I'm not going to use, even though that's what it's called. That's been around for a very long time, right? And they're either used in full-blown wrestling matches, gimmick matches, or else they're used as minions. But there's also, if you're taking it one step further as well, where they would literally be off doing whatever they're doing. In WCW again, actually that was in WCW too. In WCW there was a group called the Dungeon of Doom, and they were Hulk Hogan's main villains. Right? They were literally brought in to feud with Hulk Hogan, and they lost all the time. And a lot of what they would do would be like really cheesy evil, which is pretty much what Gru does in Despicable Me, where he's not really that kind of a guy that he thinks he is. And that's kind of it. Like there were just guys who would go off and they'd go to the meat grinder like the minions would. And sometimes they do, because the minions are immortal actually. So yeah, you can't really kill a minion, it's very difficult.
I have a question. Who would win in a fight between Undertaker and 1,000 minions?
Undertaker.
How?
Just wood.
Because he's the Undertaker.
Just wood, exactly. Magic.
It's quite a big number.
Yeah, it's a lot. But still, I mean, he's a space, not space wizard, he's a dead wizard. So that's how he's able to do it.
Oh, not just your common garden wizard.
No, dead wizard.
Undertaker has come back from being buried alive.
Several times.
We are going to bury him in minions and see if that does the trick.
But no, to be fair, like there are stables in wrestling where there would be the main leader, and then they'd have this feud with them where you would have to get through certain people to it. So that's how it shows itself. Where there are let's say you have like one main villain. He has, I call them floozies, but can't use that word apparently. But there's loads of different. Even Edge had his own little group called Edgeheads, where the two lads would go off and they would be his literal minions, and then you'd have to beat them like 6 times to get to things. So yeah, I mean that's how it works. Staples in wrestling are a big thing.
I would like to thank Patricia for that because I want to see minions take it on just all the wrestlers. I would watch that.
Sorry, there is one more connection. There's one more connection that I just and it is. So TNA, Impact Wrestling as it's known now, used to actually shoot in Orlando Studios, which is where Minions is. So when you would see in the crowd, you would see loads of Minions stuff just always in Impact Wrestling from a two other called TNA back in 2007. So if you do want to see literal Minions in wrestling, just watch Impact.
Hey, excellent. Thank you very much. Brilliant. Well done, well done.
Welcome back.
How is Columbo wrestling?
I love it. How is Detective Columbo wrestling? And I thought we had Columbo in attendance until I realised is that a reverse Waluigi? This gentleman up here? Yeah, that is a top. Either way, that's a top-notch Columbo coat. Well done. So, how is Detective Columbo wrestling?
So while there hasn't been a detective gimmick in wrestling, there has been a crossover with the Naked Gun back in the 90s, right? So while not Columbo, they do bring in celebrities, and that's how you get really weird stuff in wrestling, where they'd be like, they either play a character or not. So Columbo obviously was around, what was it, late 70s? Yeah, so the reason why you wouldn't see the Wreck crossover is purely because it was too early, right? So, but that was parodied later in stuff like The Naked Gun. He was actually at a WrestleMania. Tangential? Correct. But still, that's why you don't get Columbo. If Columbo was around today, he'd be on Raw. Well, not now, maybe with Triple H taking over, but he would have been. Guaranteed it, and it would have been terrible.
I'm not sure if it counts, but I do have a 2 degrees of separation thing from Columbo to wrestling.
Sure.
Okay, so, cheating a bit. Peter Falk was Columbo, yeah? He was in Shark Tale. And so was Jack Black. And Jack Black is Nacho Libre, and Nacho Libre is Mexican wrestling, yes?
And to that as well, Jack Black was in Jumanji with The Rock.
Ah, there you go, good! Brilliant one, thank you very much. Excellent. Yes. Brilliant, well done. Okay, now, just for the benefit of the microphone, who's this coming up now?
Hey, yeah.
Hi.
Hello.
Trying to make a decision between 2 things.
You take both.
Okay. How's Murder, She Wrote?
Okay, if nothing else, we need to get like some sort of Miss Marple, Murder, She Wrote, Columbo wrestling thing going.
I have one directly.
Really? Holy moly.
Okay.
Did Angela Lansbury put someone through a tape?
No.
Angela Lansbury's frightening. She was the original Miss... What's the one in Sweeney Todd's? Who cooks the pies?
Love it.
Yes, but anyway, sorry, please go on there.
So while there was no direct crossover, because obviously Angela Lansbury never showed up in wrestling, if I'm wrong, please correct me, I really want to see that.
Obviously is a very strong word.
So, but mysteries and murder mysteries specifically have been in wrestling. So, a couple of years ago, Vince McMahon was killed in kayfabe. He was blown up, and there was this whole mystery about who did it. Obviously, he had to change it again, breaking one of my rules because of what happened in real life. But before that, there were other weird things that would happen. GMTV, I think it was called, was in the Attitude Era, where it was just random footage of random things, and there was this whole mystery of who it was. The murder mystery, not so much as in wrestling, because you can't actually kill a wrestler because then they're gone. But as far as like a whodunit, that has existed for at least 30 years. But I do really wish Angela Lansbury was in WWE. That'd be great.
She'd win.
She would. But she'd kill anybody. She always does it. She's always doing it.
She's got that bed knobs and broomstick magic.
That's it. What's the next
one? Was how is the Golden Girls?
Oh, this is getting better.
No, this is really easy. So, who was the last one that was alive?
Betty White.
Betty White was a guest host on Raw.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my! Please tell me she was an announcer.
Raw was terrible for about 10 years, and I had to watch it every week. Yeah, I know.
Was Betty White on it for 10 years?
No, she was only on it once, but there were these Raw guest hosts, and Betty White showed up. So there you go. She was the only one that was alive. They all would have shown up and done something. But now, if you do actually, speaking of going random aside, they've actually done a redo where you just take episodes and redraw them as like futuristic mecha robots. So there's a mecha episode, like a series of the Golden Girls. Terrible. So there you go.
Oh my goodness. And by the way, I do notice we have some people who joined us halfway through there. Our party trick here, in case you haven't picked it up already, is our wonderful friend Darragh here can connect literally everything to wrestling. I will admit the Polly Pockets floored him a little bit.
It did.
But so, even if you're a wrestling fan, if you're not, try and throw us a curveball. Let's make it tricky, and if we can't figure it out, we'll go to you, the audience. So let's get a bit of energy going between us there.
Take about 3 more.
Yeah.
Take about 3 more.
Yeah, so if anyone hasn't hopped up, they are more than welcome to. This is also going to be going out on the radio, or like the link will go up and all that kind of stuff. So we'd love to hear the crazy ideas from you, because we've been doing this 3 years, and me and Katie are starting to run out of ideas. So I want to hear your ideas. So, hello again, sir.
This will be my last one, promise.
No, please, talk about us.
Darragh, can I ask, would you have called Flair, Horn and Batista Triple H's minions during the Evolution as a Triple H fan?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because of the recent documentary that was on Netflix, which is very good, and because it was also mentioned in a few magazines recently, how would you connect Woodstock 99 to wrestling?
Very easy. Who headlined Woodstock 99?
I haven't seen it. Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, and Limp Bizkit did the theme music for The Undertaker and also for 2 WrestleManias.
And all the violence there would have been like ECW.
Correct.
Very good. Excellent. Fantastic. Well done. Hello again.
Hello.
Hello.
How kept the A-team the wrestling actually?
The A-Team?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even easier. The first main event of WrestleMania had a tag team match where Mr. T was literally in it. There you go. Super easy.
We wish we could elaborate more, but
All called him there was a period of once in the A-team.
He did, and also in Rocky 3.
Oh, you took it out of my mouth. Yeah.
So, like, and the thing about it is, the thing about pop culture, right? Wrestling isn't really pop culture anymore. Kind of, it's coming back, right? But when wrestling's in that mainstream, like the Olympics is a good example of it as well, where everybody was watching wrestling at a certain time. If someone was popular, they're going to show they will have been there. Like again, Columbo would have been in wrestling if it was on, but it wasn't. And yeah, that's why. So
Kid Rock.
Kid Rock's always in wrestling. You can't get rid of him.
Oh, Michael, may I just say, for the benefit of people who won't get this on Spotify, your costume looks amazing.
Thank you so much.
Could you explain to me what character you are?
It's my own design of a character named Friend from the Dream SMP.
Ooh, lovely. Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So, what is your question?
Try to connect maybe like Dungeons and Dragons.
Ooh, I like it. So, can you connect Dungeons and Dragons to wrestling?
So fundamentally, yes, you can. And the reason why is because Dungeons and Dragons basically is a... Hold on one second. Dungeons and Dragons basically is a story from a character, right? So it's the journey of a wrestler, right? When you're starting off as a wrestler downstairs, I'm sure if you talk to them when they're not in character, they're usually really nice, to be fair. But that's all it is. You create a character, you create a gimmick, so you give yourself, I am whatever, and then you go off and do it. Like Finn Balor here is literally a super nice guy until he takes out the demon, and the demon is from Irish mythology.
Excuse me, takes out the demon?
Yeah, he puts on the paint and he becomes the demon.
Okay, it's not like something that's in his code.
No.
Okay.
Well, basically that's what so when you're creating a D&D character, you have a certain, you're a certain race, certain skill, all that kind of stuff. And that would be your gimmick. You have a certain moveset. And that's what it is. It's the exact thing with wrestling. You don't go in as, I wouldn't go in as me, some random dude in a panel.
You'd be great.
Anyway. And you have to have some kind of character. You'd be like, right, I am whatever this is, and then that's what you're, because that's what people want to see. There was a time in wrestling, now it's moved away from this, where everyone had a job. So you were a bin man. That was the beginning. You were a taxman. That was your job. You were a prison guard. And that was it. So that's what it is. It's literally like the same journey you take. So,
excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was a great one. Now, to be honest, there hasn't been enough Dungeons and Dragons in the con in general, so I'm really glad to have that propped up.
That's true. And you want to play Dungeons and Dragons with me? It really sucks.
Yeah. Also, before we go to the questions, I want to highlight the amazing costumes in the room. I see a Captain Jack Sparrow down the back. We have very good. We have Princess Fiona in her wonderful green gear. Is that Adam West Batman down the back? Am I calling that right? Yeah. We've got Miles Edgeworth. I don't know what character you are, but the demon horns are amazing. We've got some Wonder Woman down the back, and I apologise if I missed anything because these lights are very bright, but I just want to say the costumes today have been amazing. Let's give them a round of applause.
Right, so we've got 2 more, and then we're going to have to wrap it up. So you guys are ready?
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys got it.
Yeah, go on, Spider-Man.
My question is, would this be possible, right, that for all Spider-Mans to get into wrestling to fight all their villains at the same time
Well, see, you'd have a massive problem. You'd have a massive problem there with copyright. Because it's possible, alright, but here's the thing. Disney buy WWE. They'd probably do that, yeah. But that's the major problem. Now, if your question is, has someone ever faced an evil version of themselves or another? Yes. Undertaker has. So Kane. They do it all the time, where they fight evil versions of themselves or imposters. WrestleMania and SummerSlam, I think, was headlined by evil Undertaker and either Kane, respectively. But to do what you want to do, you're going to have to sort out contracts there, buddy.
Okay, well before
that's a bit difficult.
Before you leave the microphone though, I have a question. Yeah. Well then, I tag you in for this actually. Have there ever been parallel versions of existing characters in wrestling? Like, has there been like an alternate universe Undertaker? Yeah.
Evil Undertaker, Evil Kane, and Sin Cara would be that as well. And that's for a different reason. That was injury. But yeah, that was injury. Sin Cara got injured all the time. It was kind of this thing. Not a gimmick. He just was really clumsy. Absolutely. But there was, but even still, with gimmick as well, because a wrestler is their gimmick, there were fake Diesel and fake Scott Hall when he went to a rival company, WCW. WWE were just like, sure, no one knows who they are. Put other people in there. And one of those was actually Kane, the guy who would become Kane. It's a whole thing. But yeah, they don't do that anymore, thankfully, because people are like, yeah, we know who you are. Except for Sin Cara, but that was an improvement.
One more question, Mr. Eggman. Is that a real mustache or is that...
Tragically, I will have to break the wrestling illusion. It is a...
Don't break kayfabe!
Don't break kayfabe. Never break kayfabe.
I'm just asking. You don't have to break kayfabe.
Tell you what, the listeners won't get the benefit, but you will. Thank you very much. Excellent. Now, what's your name, sir?
My name is Daniel. It's a bit off topic. It's not really a connection.
Oh, I'm excited to hear this.
You're a wrestling fan, and I can tell you know a lot about it. What do you think about Logan Paul joining, and how far do you think he'll go?
Ooh, in case I didn't hear that, what do you think of Logan Paul joining?
Well, look, Logan Paul is actually pretty good, to be fair. But the thing about it is, it's not something new. You know, it started in the 80s. As I said, he's one of those people that gets lots of eyeballs on it. People are talking about it. Even everyone knows who he is, for better or worse. It's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, the match that he had so far, he took better than some guys who have been in there for a long time. You know, and well, I'll probably never buy any of his merch or want to see him. I don't have a problem with it, to be fair.
I mean, if you don't like him, you get to see him beat up.
Well, here's the thing, right? That's it as well. If you hate him, he's a natural heel, so you're going to boo him. I mean, he's doing his job.
Yeah.
Like him or hate him, not like look at CENA. People hated him for years, and he sold more merch than anyone else except for CM Punk, and then he screwed that up for himself. So, there you go. Yeah, good question.
Excellent. Now, I saw a gentleman come there. Do you have a question? Do you?
What's the challenge? Can you connect any property to wrestling?
Yeah, that's it. You have got it spot on. Do you have one?
Can you connect Kolchak's The Night Stalker, the 70s detective writer show that inspired parts of the X-Files?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes along with what we've said already with the murder mystery kind of thing. It's done in wrestling an awful lot. The problem with it is when you're trying to kill off a wrestler, that's the problem. You can't really do it. So you kill off a wrestler, they're gone, right? So you're kind of tied to doing something like that. So when you would, it would be... I'll give you another one, a different one. Stone Cold Steve Austin was rolled down in 1999, and there was a whole big mystery of what's going on, and it turned out it was this guy called Rikishi who did it to get the Rock a title shot. Right? And he did it for the Rock, and that was the meme. Again, I wish the internet was properly around in the 90s, but then again, wrestling would have been cancelled because, holy hell, that's the thing when you're watching it. That's what our podcast is about. It's about watching old wrestling and flagging it. But that would be the extent of it. You never have somebody being killed, with the exception of Vince McMahon, but you have to roll that back. So you wouldn't really get a murder mystery or something, or anyone actually being killed, but people being injured or attacked, it happens all the time. It's a very, very, very common thing.
Excellent. I think that deserves it.
Surprisingly
Yes.
Surprisingly
Do we have one prize left, Kev?
Yes, we do.
Yes, there you are. Well done. While you see, because thank you very much, give a round of applause, yeah? So, I know we're going to start wrapping up now, but I have to ask, you've mentioned several times about plot lines where wrestlers were murdered. So, where do these wrestler performers go during these plot lines? Do they have to stay out of the public eye?
Yeah.
What happens?
Wrestlers aren't murdered because they can't be. But when they're injured, and this is the thing, back in the day when a wrestler would get injured, they would hide. They would just not be in the public. But now they have Instagram, so someone gets injured on Raw and they're like, oh, I'm out with my family. You know, it's suspension of disbelief, right?
Yeah, I mean, John Cena's stuck in a void right now, but he's off doing DC movies.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's it. I mean, but okay, so the question I suppose is, to wrap this up, why is literally everything wrestling? The answer is because, has anyone read Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces?
Oh, yeah, the hands up there.
Well, you have, always, because you've seen Star Wars, seen Lord of the Rings, you've seen Harry Potter, you've seen Gremlins, you've seen everything. It's the same story over and over and over and over again. And if you actually want to see this played out in wrestling, you can through The Undertaker. This is a game of Undertaker's first decade or two where you can just mix and match and actually get the entire hero's journey out of everything that he's doing. It's the same story, and when someone's around long enough, they're going to hit all these points. And he's like the skeleton key of this, where you want to see a super long-term storytelling. But there is another guy, and a young friend here actually stole my thunder earlier on by bringing it up. If you want to see the monomyth, or how literally everything is wrestling, condensed into one storyline, it's Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt started off as a kind of chubby rookie that nobody liked, called Husky Harris, and he was battered by John Cena, and every time Bray Wyatt came back as different characters, he was always beaten.
Can I just say, I love this image of John Cena in this wonderfully nice sitting room, contrasted with all the
I'll get there. So he was beaten by literally any carnation out of Tron, and he just couldn't beat him, right? And then the story was that Bray Wyatt is going to finally beat him. And how does he beat him? Well, he actually takes him on the hero's journey and makes John Cena face himself. So it starts off, so Bray Wyatt's gimmick at this point was he would be the Fiend as he is there with the mask and all that kind of stuff, but he'd also kind of come out as Mr. Rogers, like this really super nice children's character with puppets and stuff. It was wild. And basically they had this match at WrestleMania that wasn't a match. It was basically an exploration of the hero's journey, but not John Cena. The hero was Bray Wyatt in this. And he actually takes John Cena through all these trials, but they're not actually Cena's, they're Bray Wyatt's, and takes it all right back to him actually overcoming it, which is why you probably won't see John Cena back in the ring wrestling again, because this was his retirement match. Now again, nobody says retired, but for the story, if you want to see wrestling here as a monomyth, it's in this story, it's in this match. It's very, very good.
I think in summation, one of the best kind of sums up I heard about it is the fact that wrestling, it's less MMA and more Shakespeare in the Park.
It literally is. Now, as I said, I could have talked about Greek theatre for 20 minutes because my background is in classics. And South Park actually picked this up where they're like, if you watch an episode of wrestling, it ends up in a Greek theatre because it's so just like that. It's not about the athletic competition, which look at the lads and ladies downstairs, they're killing each other and they're putting all in the ring for entertainment. So there is a physical aspect, but the main thing about it is the story. It's like when you go see the Avengers. If they're just punching each other, you're not going to care. You care about Tony Stark, dying. What do you care about?
Spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler for a movie that's been out for 2 years. You care about that because you care about the man. You don't care if you do. Like, it's cool when he punches Thanos. That's awesome.
Is that why then, sorry to interject, when it's like Civil War or characters you care about are going up against each other, it's more meaningful than if it's just like, is the same true of wrestling is what I'm asking.
Correct. The spectacle of wrestling is a thing, and it always has been, but it's less like gladiatorial stuff and more like Greek theatre. If you're familiar with any shows, or Shakespeare specifically...
Yeah.
Okay, Shakespeare's really...
He gets it.
Shakespeare's really boring when you read it, right?
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Let's call it a spade. But when you see it, it brings it to life because they're able to connect with these characters. And wrestling is kind of the same thing. If it was just spots and just moves, yeah, it would be cool for a very small amount of people, but it wouldn't be worldwide. Like, The Rock is not a good wrestler. I'm sorry, he's not. But he's a hell of a character. And he always has been, and that's what got him over. People connected to that and the stories and his rise through everything. So that's kind of it. Wrestling is like any other entertainment. It's the story, and we tell the same stories over and over again. Now, before we finish up, we do a podcast every Wednesday. It's on Saturdays, so if you don't want to listen to the podcast, you can just find us on Phoenix 92.5 FM
and Spotify.
And the Wrestling Rewind is live on Twitch. But the best thing you can do is go to nerdtoknowmedia.com. We have cards somewhere here. Take a card. Check the podcast out, spread the word about what we do, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all.